1 hour of racing action. It couldn't be faster and more furious than the Blancpain GT Series with its Sprint Cup opener, but we're going to see what we can do with the GT4 European Series Northern Cup. Not 34 cars for that, 33. As good as can be as another championship grows and grows. That was the number 9 pole starting car, Luke Brahms, sharing that with Duncan Heisman. And it's Duncan who'll be starting the race. Pavel Lefterov will be starting from the second position on the grid in the first of many Porsche Caymans. There he is, waving us to through the window of the 112. Second row is all Porsche Cayman. The 92 car, sorry, that's the 69 car, I beg its pardon, of Daniel Rhymes, Czech racer. And then we'll have Nikolai Moller-Madsen the other side of the row in the second of the first of the Pro Sport Performance Porsche Caymans. So lots of similarity between the cars from second through to fourth place. Completely different body shape, starting with Jonathan Cecotto, son of multiple world motorbike champion in the mid-70s. Johnny Cecotto will be starting in the best of the KTM crossbows. There's Jörg Wiebahn, number 91. Sorry, that's Nikolai Moller-Madsen, 91, that's in fourth position. And then the KTM crossbow, you can see just behind the largely white and yellow Porsche. We'll be starting from fifth on the grid with Jonathan Cecotto at the wheel. And alongside him, he will have Matt Nicol-Jones in the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin. Behind there in 111, yet another Porsche Cayman, is Gabriella Piana, and then Andy Merrick in the best of the McLaren 570Ss, entered by the Bullet Racing and Race team. And huge variety of cars. GT4 not only having, this would be a great grid last year, one of its best ever grids, but this year we have the Northern Cup. This has 33 cars, and the Southern Cup, which will start later this year, very shortly indeed, has more than 20 cars entered for it. So huge growth, and the number of manufacturers increases all the time, building GT4 cars to go out and go racing. Much more cost-effective way of racing, but who knows where these teams will end up going from here. Teams and drivers, it's definitely a stepping stone, and for Max Brahms and the gang that organised this championship, they're sitting on something very special indeed. GT4 series racing not just growing in Europe, but all around the world. Right at the back of the grid, just waiting for the last few cars to pull away. Now, the drivers starting the race will all have watched what happened in the opening race, the race for the Sprint Cup, GT3 big brothers, if you will, who were so immaculate through the first 5 turns, but then a one little slip through turn 6, that fast kink onto the first of the straights, and we saw the concertina effect and a whole group of cars taking a clatter and dropping themselves out of the race. So hopefully we won't have a repeat of that, and a little more caution will be operated by those behind. But a real mixture of cars. We've got the McLaren on pole position, then 3 Porsche Caymans. There is the front row. Duncan Heisman starting the car he'll share with Luke Brahms, and behind him it will be Pavel Lefterov, Jean-Louis Jasper taking over. Again, like the Sprint Cup race, it's a 1 hour race, and there is a pit stop in the middle, a pit stop window. If you come in early or late, that is up to you. But we've got this great mixture: McLarens, Porsches, KTMs, Aston Martins, and so it goes. Maseratis, BMWs, all in the mix behind. And again, these drivers, for some of them, it would be their first ever night race, and possibly even their first race at Misano. So plenty to consider, possibly even their first race in GT4. But a lot of the front runners from last year are still involved in the series, so plenty of experience at the front end. And I must say, looking at some of the cars, the Maserati headlights seem rather dim in comparison to those on the Porsches, but maybe it's just the camera angle that makes them look so. And as long as from the driver's point of view they can see as much as they need to see, then all will be fine for them. So for the drivers, just a chance to get more heat into the tyres. The fact we can see so many cars still coming up on screen, position 28. We go back to position 33 in this ever-growing championship. So they're running down the kinked back straight from the hairpin at turn 10. That's Tremonto down to the second hairpin, Caro at turn 14. There we are. Morgan Moulin Trafort, look out for him, because that qualified right at the front end. Then its times were taken away and put down to the very tail of the order. So it's always interesting to have a car that has to fight its way up the order from the back of the grid. And again, quite a few drivers had their times disallowed for exceeding track limits. It seems to have been a theme of this weekend, but it's very easy to do at the Misano World Circuit. Very flat curbs, very tempting to get the advantage of going out beyond. And so again, a 2-driver race, and it's key for the drivers to just keep an eye on what's happening, because they will be taking over, the number 2 drivers. Through the final corner, the safety car has pulled off. Will it be Duncan Heisman or Pavel Lefterov? Will it be the McLaren or the Porsche as the field gets close, waiting for the red lights to turn to green? An hour of racing underway as the lights go green. Some charging from down at the back of the order. It looks like Duncan Heisman has hooked it up very nicely indeed, but the Porsche are alongside with Pavel Lefterov making a challenge, and nose half ahead. He's got the nose in front, and of course the track goes right to start with and then left. It should be the Porsche coming out of turn 1 in the lead of the race, and so it is. It looks as though, in fact, the McLaren might have even been pushed back to 3rd place. Everyone behind pretty much taking the first 2 corners on the circuit, but Pavel Lefterov has managed to not only take the lead but keep it, and the McLaren being pushed around turn 4 there in 2nd place, but he did manage to hold on, having lost the lead. He nearly went back to 3rd, but being pushed very hard indeed, and the order trying to sort itself out behind, but they've got through turn 6. That was the corner where the accident happened at the start of the Sprint Cup race. So all is good, and particularly good if you're Pavel Lefterov. Duncan Heisman is trying to maybe hold on in 2nd place, 2 by 2, side by side down that midfield straight, if you will, down to turn 8, the hairpin there, all nice and clean. A run of 33 cars, and certainly Morgan Moulin-Trafort, who started in 33rd and final position, looks so he's gained a handful of places, as you'd expect. I think we might have a spinner. Yes, we've got tail lights. It's the McLaren from 2nd place has gone round, and we saw him being pushed early on, but about 20 cars have gone past him so far. So I'm afraid for Duncan Heisman, he has plenty more to do, but he has to wait to rejoin. So what wasn't the greatest of starts certainly got a whole lot worse halfway around the lap, and when you can see lots of white headlights, a couple of red tail lights, you know all isn't right for somebody, and it was the McLaren. Running wide in 2nd place though after that sort out. Looks like another McLaren will be working its way up to the front. Pavel Lefterov escaping in the lead of the race, and now it's Matt Nicol-Jones in the Aston Martin in 2nd place, 33, up from Andy Merrick, up from 8th at the start, up to 3rd place now. So we've lost one of the McLarens at the front end, but another one challenging to get up there. But the advantage for Pavel Lefterov, the Bulgarian racer, 2.8 seconds at the end of the opening lap. That's the gap people dream of when they set out in a race. I think we've had a spinner out of turn 16, judging by engine noise outside the commentary box window, but it certainly wasn't Pavel Lefterov. 2.8 seconds clear, and now pushing very, very hard. Andy Merrick now being pushed indeed. Right behind him he's got Peter Turting, one of joint champions from last year in his Porsche Cayman, seeing what he can do in his 2017 campaign, and I'm sure the answer is going to be something very good indeed. But oh dearie me, smoke steaming away. Well, there was contact on the opening lap, and that's number 40, and that was either Stephen Licorice or Freddie Hunt. And let's have a look. Here's the leader, Pavel Lefterov, coming out of turn 10 onto the back straight and coming out and showing us all the sides of his car after a tip. Totally different Porsche that hit him. That was the one in 3rd place, and I might think about who that was in a sec. Might have been Peter Turting even. But come what may, that is why the advantage is so big for the race leader. So Pavel Lefterov going about his business, and unfortunately for Duncan Heisman, so much experience. Safety car out on circuit. The cars have now just slowed. The message coming up on screen. Field bunching up behind. You can see Andy Merrick having a look at trying to overtake Matt Nicol-Jones there. And as the field bunches up, they're just getting close behind the safety car, and they'll have to do it all over again. So there must be some debris out on circuit. Oil on track between turn 6 and 8. That's the stretch of circuit that runs down. There's Freddie Hunt. Gosh, does he look ever familiar. So he clearly was the driver that started that car down mid sort of grid position, but over and out. There's been a clash. So son of the 1976 world champion is being asked about everything out there. Absolutely uncanny likeness to his late father. Sharing that Porsche from Brookspeed with Stephen Licorice, but that will take no further action tonight, but hopefully can be fixed up ahead of tomorrow's race, and that will be at just before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In fact, the final race of the meeting here at Misano, the final race that we will be broadcasting as well. In fact, we've got an F2 trophy race as well just after that, but the final race for cars with roofs. So just waiting while the oil is cleared up. Here's a replay of the start, all very, very clean indeed. And Duncan Heisman on right-hand side of our screen. He'll be on our left when we flip around to get the head-on shot. Seemed to have done everything about right, and it looks like his nose was going to be in front, but Pavel Lefterov, wait and see as they go down to turn 1. Just edged around the outside. Now seen from head-on, Pavel Lefterov in the middle of the screen and almost hidden in the dark with a its dark livery is Duncan Heisman, and he was pushed back to second, very nearly back to third. As the group behind with Daniel Rhymes, actually, he might have been the one that flipped the McLaren around later in the lap, was really chomping at his tail. Behind all seemed pretty sensible. I can't see where the damage happened for Freddie Hunt. It's probably in that mix somewhere. In fact, the car just went through the Brookspeed Porsche, and now with cement dust being spread when the cars aren't coming around. Oh, that's the entrance to turn 8, so clearly some contact earlier in the lap led to oil being dropped there, and in the dark, very, very difficult indeed to spot. There's a marshal up at the kink at turn 7, also putting cement dust down, so the clock continues to tick away. We've just had just over 5 minutes this 1 hour race under our belts. Leading the way, Pavel Lefterov, Matt Nicol-Jones, who advanced from 6th on the grid up to 2nd place, 33. Another car that gained a handful of positions, and that's Stephen Patrick listed at the wheel of that, not Andy Merrick, so apologies for calling Andy Merrick the first driver of that. Start of the race, and 69 Peter Turting, last year's joint champion, along with Jörg Wiebahn, is in 4th place. Looks so the marshals have now withdrawn from the circuit. I'm keeping my eyes on the roof of the safety car when we can see it, to see if the lights are flashing or not. I have a feeling we could be going racing very soon indeed, and so for the drivers in that grouping behind him, they're all thinking about how they're going to factor in this restart, what they can offer when it comes. But the driver in the best position is Pavel Lefterov, leading the race. First lap incident under investigation, that's what it says on the timing screens. No surprise, very busy circuit for the race stewards, because 16 corners, they seem to come one very, very quickly after another, and it encourages drivers to have a go at overtaking. They haven't always managed to pull them off. So 1-1-2 started from the outside of the front row from the RN Vision STS team. Well, it won't be restarted this lap, certainly not with those marshals out on the circuit, and again, huge amount of oil on the track, much more than we realised, judging by the amount that's cement dust that's being put down. I think that little bucket needs to be a bit larger, and it runs all the way from turn 6 to turn 8, and race control is saying there's a lot more than is apparent from the outside. You can see the line of where the cement dust has been put down. The drivers have all had there's different dust this time than last time around, so they're having to learn exactly where the oily line is, but that cement dust will give them a good clue. The marshal's working very hard at turn 8. That's the infield hairpin, known as Quercia. Safety car procedure, first lap, incident under investigation. So for all these drivers, it looks like they've done everything right at the start, but unfortunately they now got the safety car leading them round, and they'll have to make a flying start all over again. But it's advantage Pavel Lefterov. Matt Nicol-Jones tucked in behind in the dark liveries, black Aston Martin, and then Stephen Patrick up from 8th on the grid in the Bullet Racing McLaren 570S into 3rd place. Kevin Rossell in 5th, Jonathan Chicotto 6th, Ricardo van der Ende 7th, Peter Ebner 8th, Gabriele Piana 9th, and car number 14 in 10th place with Reinhard Koffler, who'll be sharing that KTM crossbow with Eike Angermeyer, one of 8 KTM crossbows in the race. And of course they all have the incentive that 2 of the drivers from the Reiter Young Stars system were promoted for this year, for 2017, to the Blancpain Series Sprint Cup race. So they'll keep an interested eye on what they can do, and of course, being racing drivers, feel they could do the job better themselves and hope that they get the honour for 2018. Now the light's still flashing on the roof of the safety car, but I've just been told it will be in at the end of this lap, so the field now having to just wake up that little bit, get a bit more heat in their tyres. Now the safety car, when in fact the race leader behind the safety car, Pavel Lefterov, backs off a little bit. He'll have the message from his pit crew. He wants to be able to put the hammer down as soon as he can. The safety car escaping as they go through turn 14, final cut. Well, that's 13, this is 14, and the 16 corner circuit, so the safety car will be safely out of the way. There you can see it going through turn 15, and that will then peel into the pit lane. Now, will Matt Nicol-Jones in the Aston Martin find a bit more grunt than Pavel Lefterov can in the car ahead, in the Porsche Cayman, coming up to the final corner, onto the start-finish straight. Matt Nicol-Jones half a car length behind, and in turn is being pushed very hard indeed by Stephen Patrick, and seeing what he can do. So it's Porsche, it's Aston Martin, and it's McLaren down to turn 1, but very sensibly Pavel Lefterov says, if you want to pass me, you come all the way around the outside, then you'll run out of space for turn 2. Look how tight it is, and Stephen Patrick thinking, well, I might be able to go around the outside of the Aston Martin at turn 2. He tried, it didn't work, he then couldn't put the power down, so that gave Matt Nicol-Jones a bit of breathing space up into turn 4, getting very close indeed in that battle between first and second place. Nicol-Jones has to back out a little bit, otherwise he'd have his nose chopped off by the Porsche driver. So through turn 6, as Patrick now fights with Matt Nicol-Jones, is this the chance? Pavel Lefterov can just break clear, but who's going to get down to turn number 8 ahead? Through the little kink at turn 7, there you can see the kink just before the bridge. Super close between the top 3, and Stephen Patrick looking very feisty in the Bullet Racing McLaren, always going for a gap that is, or maybe not even isn't there, but behind them, catching all of the top 3, is Peter Turting, and now a slight mistake from Stephen Patrick that has allowed Matt Nicol-Jones to gain just a little bit of breathing space and so concentrate on the race leader Pavel Lefterov. Through turn 10 they go, on to the kinked back straight. This is the long straight from Tramonte all the way down to Caro to turn 14. 3 kinks on their route, and certainly if you get a good exit from turn 10 you might be able to do something down towards the end of the sequence. Looking very close, trying to make an attack up the inside through the second of the kinks. Matt Nicol-Jones thought the better of it, down to 13, and now Stephen Patrick in third place, being pushed very hard indeed by the Cayman of Peter Turting. 1, 2, 3 and 4, so close. Then a tiny bit of a gap back to car number 92, which is running in 5th place. It's Kevin Rossell. He's sharing his Pro Sport Performance Cayman. Oh dear, Stephen Patrick running very wide. He'll have to watch out. The whole host of cars going a little bit wide, but he won the prize for wide as he came under huge pressure from Peter Turting, but got it back on the circuit out of turn 16 and carries on. But now look how hard he's being pushed by last year's co-champion. Stephen Patrick managed to keep it straight through turn 1 and 2. You can see a little bit of flame out to the back of the McLaren 570S. But now it's all eyes on the top 2, Pavel Lefterov and Matt Nicol-Jones right behind. Pavel will hand over in time to Jean-Louis Jasper and Matt Nicol-Jones to Will Moore. And I'd say Will Moore and Matt Nicol-Jones possibly the better pairing there. And of course in these 2-driver races it is very much about the average median speed of driver pairings that really counts. Peter Turting can't do anything at the moment about Stephen Patrick, and I sense the driver in 5th place in the KTM Crossbow, which had a change of position in that case. It was a Cayman in 5th, but Jonathan Chicotto showing that the genes clearly do have speed in them. His father, of course, don't forget, raced in Formula 1 fleetingly, was very successful in the German Touring Car Championship as well, but he's closing in the best of the KTM Crossbows. That's number 34 in 5th place overall. 0.35 seconds, there's the gap. Well, it's visually that, and possibly slightly more now, as Pavel Lefterov just gains a little bit of time down the back, but then at the end of the straight you have Matt Nicol-Jones closing in the Aston Martin, and through the twisty parts it seems very even indeed. Morgan Moulin Trafort, I just saw he's managed to advance from the very tail of the grid up to 17th place, so he's gained a mere 16 positions. That's not bad for a car that certainly should have been at the front end, but for running wide over that very curb. Turn 16 and also turn 6 is the corner that seems to concern the race stewards the most, which is where you come onto the first of the straights after the twisty opening sector of the lap. 46 minutes in this 1-hour race remain. It's so close between first and second. You then have a gap of 2 seconds back to 3rd place. And it's the McLaren of Stephen Patrick being absolutely monstered by Peter Turting, and Jonathan Chicotto getting closer and closer, just set the race's fastest lap in 5th position. 2/10, about a quarter of a second better than the best by our race leader. And there is our race leader, 112, Pavel Lefterov, ahead of Matt Nicol-Jones in the dark liveried McLaren from Academy Motorsport, pushing one way, pushing another, seeing what he can do. Is he close enough to make a move down into turn 10? Not up the inside, he's looking to go wide on the way in, to be tight on the way out. Has that worked for him? Not quite. In fact, he wasn't that tight on the way out. He was out over the painted curbs at the exit of the corner before he tucked it back onto the circuit, and again tucked the car right under the rear wing of that Porsche Cayman as they go over the little rise, turn 9, turn 10. It's about your exit speed from this corner, from the hairpin down the back straight. You could hardly see the Aston Martin, tucked as it is, so close in behind the race-leading Porsche Cayman. Just a jinx to one side to get a bit of a sighter, but the Bulgarian racer Pavel Lefterov doing a very tidy job in the lead of the race. See how hard he's braking there through one of the kinks down into 13, and then 14 they have to really take the power off the car take the speed off the car. Is it going to be a clash in the battle for third place? And now trying to go around the outside is the KTM Crossbow, as Stephen Patrick was given a nudge up the inside. Has the Crossbow done it? No, but it's gone in between the two, up into fourth place. So Jonathan Cecotto really looking very feisty indeed up the inside. So poor Peter Turting, and don't forget he's one of the two champions, the joint champions from last year. He's been pushed aside by a driver making his debut in the series in a KTM Crossbow, which isn't supposed to be the equal of the Porsche Cayman. So that was a really clever and very opportunistic move there from Jonathan Cecotto. Don't forget, on that lap he was still one of the fastest drivers in the race, slightly slowed by the end of the lap antics, but he gained the position. That's what counts. And now trying to gain a position, jinking one way, then round the other. Matt Nicol-Jones is trying all sorts of tactics to get past our race leader, but Pavel Lefterov seems in control of the situation. Look how close it is in the battle for third place. Stephen Patrick, Jonathan Cecotto, and feeling probably his nose slightly out of position there, Peter Turting back in third position. Jinking one way, jinking the other. Matt Nicol-Jones just trying everything in that Aston Martin in second place to depose the race leader Pavel Lefterov. Cannot do it as yet. Drive-through penalty. Oh dearie me, car number 88. I'm afraid that's overtaking under the safety car. Definitely not a good thing to do. Peter Ebner showing that with Wolfgang Rich. So I'm afraid for them that will drop them way down the order, as well as earning the ire of people in race control. In fact, from 8th we will see that tumble way down towards the bottom. And car number 9 and 91, incident between those two. Number 9 was Duncan Heisman, who started on pole position, and 91 it was Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who clearly might have given him a tap. Well, we saw the McLaren going sideways out of turn 10, so it suggests it was pushed from behind. Did he jump? Was he pushed? I think the answer was he was probably pushed. And now we have a change in the lead of the race, because while I was talking about that, Matt Nicol-Jones did finally get a move to stick. Now it's the turn of Pavel Lefterov to give chase. Gap between them last time around was 0.4 of a second in advantage of the Bulgarian racer. This time it's 0.4 of a second in the advantage of the English racer there. Matt Nicol-Jones now leading for Academy Motorsport. Peter Turting still pushing on, but that battle for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh place is getting closer and closer. He's behind 69 in the mix, Peter Turting, but he has been deposed. Well, first of all by Stephen Patrick, as they've had such a good battle, but they've lost out to Jonathan Cecotto, who is now up into third position. And let's see if he can close in on those ahead of him. One of the Ecris BMWs, number 8, with Ricardo van der Ende running in 7th place overall. So plenty of variety manufacturers involved in this GT4 series. This is the opening round of the Northern Cup, the first time the championship has been divided. But with 33 starters for the Northern Cup alone, it just shows the expansion of the GT4 European Series. And now Matt Nicol-Jones might have passed to take the lead. Well, might have passed, he has passed. Now, will there be any fight back from 112 from the driver who took the lead at the start, Pavel Lefterov? It's early stage in the race. In fact, they're about to come up and start some overtaking. A Maserati up in front from Scuderia Riorba course. Will it trip them up? Matt Nicol-Jones will be the first driver to come across the Maserati. There's Jonathan Cecotto in third place. Fourth place, Stephen Patrick. Fifth place, Peter Turting. Matt Nicol-Jones may have got in front. Well, he definitely did get in front, but now he's got to go around the outside. It didn't trip them up too much, or more to the point, it tripped them up absolutely equally towards the end of the lap. And Pavel Lefterov, if anything, has gained a tenth of a second, but I think that was his own speed in the middle sector of the lap before they got held up. 0.4 of a second last time between first and second, and this time it's 0.4 of a second. So what was gained was lost again. So the back marker delayed the two of them, but delayed them absolutely equally. So it's Aston Martin leading the race from Porsche Cayman, back in third place, just crashing past the Maserati is Jonathan Cecotto in the best of the KTM Crossbows. Fourth place, Stephen Patrick, the Bullet Racing McLaren, and fifth place, Peter Turting. And behind them in sixth place is number 92, which is the Pro Sport Performance Kevin Rossell driven Cayman in sixth place. Nighttime racing just adds such a different entity, does it not? The sights and sounds just seem all the more magnified. You're trying to pick out the cars by their headlights, and particularly when they're running as close as some of these cars are, very hard to work out which is which. What you can see there in 69 is Peter Turting. Started to make a move. Stephen Patrick ran a little bit wide, but Patrick will have the inside line as they go through turn 9 up to turn 10. They're coming across that very slow Maserati, and he's had to nearly got hit up the back by Peter Turting as he backed off to miss it. Turting has a better exit speed from turn 10 and has squeezed looks as though Stephen Patrick was getting very squeezed up alongside the Maserati, looking through the glare of the headlights. The Maserati we can see, but the brighter headlights on the other side of the circuit. Who's emerging ahead? It's still Stephen Patrick. He is a very, very brave individual. It looked as though he'd been passed by Terting. It looks as though he's going to get squeezed against the Maserati, but he braved it out. He kept his foot in there as they accelerated down to the hairpin. Tramonto, which is turn 10, and the order stays as it was, but that Maserati very nearly sorted it all out. But up front, it looks like Pavel Lefterov is about to try and sort it all out. He is super close, nose to tail with race leader Matt Nicol-Jones as they go out of turn 16. It was 0.459. It's hard, 0.235 of a second, literally touching the back bumper of the Aston Martin. 40 minutes of this race still to go, plenty of racing still to come, and of course the pit window will open in the next 5 minutes or so, and the order could yet change. The second bunch of drivers, who knows how equal they are, but the lot on track at the moment. Top 5 covered by 7 seconds. Top 2 have just escaped by 3 seconds from the rest. Jonathan Cecotto has now dropped the group behind, but Stephen Patrick, Peter Terting and Kevin Rossell very close indeed, and now onto their tails in car number 8, the Ecris BMW, is Ricardo van der Ende. So the battle for 4th back to 8th, very close indeed. Jonathan Cecotto, the only driver in the top handful who's sort of racing on his own. There's the battle for 4th place. Stephen Patrick, Peter Terting, Kevin Rossell, and then at the back the Ecris BMW, number 8, Ricardo van der Ende. He's just chipping away at them, getting closer and closer, and I'm just trying to see the pace of those behind not involved in the battle, also trying to close up and doing so. Number 111, RN Vision STS, that's the sister car to Pavel Lefterov, who's in 2nd place, but this one has Gabriele Piano at the wheel. He's catching the group ahead. Fastest lap of the race set last time around by the driver in 3rd place, the driver not fighting anyone else at the moment. There's the advantage, Jonathan Cecotto. Oh, big slide there, clipped the curb, Pavel Lefterov, and you could see the Porsche Cayman being pitched sideways as he went through turn 13 down toward the hairpin at 14, but Matt Nicol-Jones, a far more traditional line, and is able to pull away very slightly, but Pavel Lefterov up the inside into turn 16. Will they go around the corner? Will they both be pushed off? Well, one car went off the side of the circuit. You could suggest he was pretty much pushed there. That's the Aston Martin, but Matt Nicol-Jones has not lifted his foot off and is still in front. You'd have to say that was a bit of an assist from Pavel Lefterov. Had it ended up with the order changing, you might have had words from the officials. Car number 30, warning for track limits, but it's not one of the cars at the top end of the field. It's the car that's coming up from the back of the field. Morgan Moulin-Treffort, as I say that, he's advanced from 13th up to 12th, but he has been warned. There's a warning flag out there for exceeding track limits, doing his overtaking around the outside a few times too many. Now look how Jonathan Cecotto in the KTM Crossbow, racing on his own in the dark in the number 34 entry, is now getting closer and closer as the top 2 tussle. Matt Nicol-Jones, Pavel Lefterov, and they're not content to stay in that order, because we've seen Pavel Lefterov last time making a lunge. Here comes another lunge down into turn 8. Who will get out of turn 8 ahead? It will be Pavel Lefterov shortly, but Matt Nicol-Jones not interested in lifting off. The nose of the Porsche is ahead, but he's on the outside line of the circuit. What great racing. Wow, GT4 European Series kicking off with a real bang. This 2017 season here has Pavel Lefterov tucks up the inside out of turn 10. Who's going to be ahead as they come down the back straight? Side by side they go. Absolutely could not be closer between the top 2, and it's still the Aston Martin just in front, I think. No, up the inside now goes Pavel Lefterov. He's got the right position for the end of this kinked run down from turn 10 to turn 14, but I have a sort of feeling that Matt Nicol-Jones might try the inside line at 13. He doesn't quite work out, and Jonathan Cecotto catching them all the time now through turn 14. Running wide, Pavel Lefterov is really taking the life out of his tyres. Matt Nicol-Jones is being that bit smoother. It may lead to a benefit. Not really for him though, because his time in the car, all of these drivers know their time will come to an end in the next 10 minutes or so, but enjoying themselves so much, I'm sure they don't want to come in. Jonathan Cecotto now right on the tail of the Aston Martin. The first 3, I think it's going to be a second that covers the lot of them. 1.064. You can spare me those 64 thousandths. And Jonathan Cecotto, he's had the target. No one on his tail has been able to close in. So really a fantastic run for the RYS Team Kiska entry. And Jonathan will be handing over to German racer Lennart Marionek, who knows these cars very well indeed from last year. But for Jonathan Cecotto, very impressive debut. I think he would have enjoyed this enormously. Look how he's cut down those cars ahead in the space of a handful of laps. He took 2.5 seconds out of them. Matt Nicol-Jones knows he's in a race. In fact, he's in a sandwich. He's got the Porsche Cayman ahead. Pavel Lefterov having re-established himself in the lead of the race. But Matt Nicol-Jones very brave indeed in trying to hang on. 4th place is still held, but now 8.5 seconds further back from this group by Stephen Patrick, still being pushed by Peter Terting, still with Kevin Russell tucked in behind and Ricardo van der Ende behind him, and now car number 14 has caught that cue, and that's Reinhard Koffler, so the top effectively from 5th down to 9th, covered by absolutely nothing, about a second covering the grouping of them. Quite hard to pick them out in the dark. 35 minutes gone. Pavel Lefterov leading by 0.577 of a second. It ebbs and flows with he and Matt Nicol-Jones. Matt Nicol-Jones getting closer and closer to his tail. We've had a few one back marker interrupting the very flow at the front, but right behind it's super close. There's that grouping in the middle. You can see the Ecris BMW number 8 of Ricardo van der Ende in 7th. Literally that group is 5 cars nose to tail now. Stephen Patrick, Peter Terting, Kevin Russell, Ricardo van der Ende and Reinhard Koffler. And then right behind, the car in 9th is car number 84, which is a Reiter Engineering crossbow of Arnie Hofmeister, who will hand over to Peter Cox's daughter, Stephanie. And so not only cornering speed and the ability not to make a slip up, they've got the pit stops in which it's very easy for a crew to rather wreck their driver's race, or conversely make it. If they can gain just 1 second in the pit stop for any of these cars, that would gain them about 3 or 4 positions. And for the Ecris crew, they're very experienced lots, so certainly they will be hoping that they can gain their driver in their Ecris BMW an advantage when it comes to pit stop. And the pit window has just opened, ready to come in and play. Who wants to come in and stop playing? There's the question, because the action on the track has been absolutely scintillating in this opening round of 2017. Don't forget, this isn't the entire GT4 European Series. This is the Northern Cup. The first year it's been split, but with 33 cars, a massive entry as the first of the cars come into the pits. It's one of the KTMs just arrived beneath my feet. I'm sitting at pit entry, but out front it's still Pavel Lefterov leading the race. In behind now, 4/10, nearly 5/10 of a second down, Matt Nicol-Jones in the Academy Aston Martin. Pushing very hard. And don't forget, the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin started down in 6th place, so not only having led the race, but now fighting very hard over 2nd place, showed that qualifying didn't flatter the team. And Matt Nicol-Jones really stepping on it, and he's shown the very brave pair. Been some great racing between he and Pavel Lefterov, and Jonathan Cecotto has been the real surprise package, as he caught right up as they fought, and he's managed to stay there, tucked in behind. Slightly slower lap from him last time around. In fact, they're all covered by 1/10 of a second between the top 3 in terms of their lap time last time around. How long will they stay out? I think they will stay as long as they possibly can. Maybe this grouping behind them will have its order jigged according to who comes into the pit when, but right now Pavel Lefterov half a second clear at the front of the race, 0.610 of a second to be precise. Matt Nicol-Jones doing his utmost. He will be handing over to William Moore, and Pavel Lefterov in 112 leading the race will hand over to John-Louis Jasper, German racing driver. And you certainly have to feel that William Moore possibly knows the Aston Martin rather better than Jasper will know the Porsche Cayman. Let us see. Nearly at the halfway point in this 1-hour race, opening the 2017 series, the first ever race for the Northern Cup of the GT4 European Series. And this is the lead trio. We have, as I say, 28 minutes now on the clock. The top 3 covered by 1.123 seconds, just what the doctor ordered. Then there's a gap of about just over 10 seconds back to a 5-car train. 6-car train, I beg your pardon, battling over 4th place. Absolutely fantastic. A whole group of cars have made their pit stops, but they're all the ones at the tail end of the field. In fact, the highest placed car to re-emerge is number 23, which has come out in 16th place overall. Car 23 is Sean Walkinshaw Racing, Charlie Fagg and Roman Sarazan. That's out, and Roman Sarazan's taken over. Matt Nicol-Jones dives into the pits, so Jonathan Cecotto in the KTM crossbow is elevated to 2nd position. Maybe he can start having a bite at the tail of the race leader Pavel Lefterov, but maybe this is the chance for the Aston Martin crew from Academy Motorsport to make their move. A nice tidy pit stop, get back out, hope the other 2 delayed themselves, and then have clear track. Most importantly, try and get back out ahead. 007, it's last year's AM winners. It's the street racing Aston Martin crew. There is Matt Nicol-Jones about to climb out and very quickly on board. William Moore lowers himself down into the Vantage. And it's all about being super efficient in terms of strapping the driver in. Matt Nicol-Jones looking from the outside to see if there's anything he can do. Not a lot of space to do it, to get around the side of the McLaren, of the mechanic. Pit stop has to be 1 minute, so you don't have to hurry too much. Waiting as it counts down. All tidy. Still Pavel Lefterov, 0.868 of a second clear in the lead of the race. That is what 0.868 of a second looks like at night time at Misano as they go down towards the end of the lap. Who's one of these going to come in this time around? Will Pavel Lefterov peel left when he goes into turn 16 instead of taking the wide line out over the curbs? Hopefully not and beyond. Drive-through penalty, car number 24 now. Driving standards, that's RYS Team Hollinger. Samuel Sladeka and Emil Westman are the drivers of that pair. Ecris BMW, looks though Ricardo van der Ende might have just gained a position, but it's hard to pick out in the night. Pit window still opening, and just waiting to see if either the top two will come in. It looks like they've continued on their way for one more lap. So how good was the pit stop? We will find out from Matt Nicol-Jones, handing over to William Moore. We'll know very soon indeed. There are our lead duo coming up to complete another lap through turn 15, turn 16. There's Matt Nicol-Jones, I think, about to unstrap. He's had a good run. He'll have enjoyed that. Plenty of race action out on the circuit. And it looks as though 33, Stephen Patrick's coming in, and all the group behind, with the exception, I think, of was that the Ecris BMW going past. So the grouping from 4th down to about 7th look as though they've all peeled into the pits, but a couple at the tail end of that grouping have continued on their way. And if they felt they were being held up, that's the thing to do, because that battle was very, very close indeed. 6 cars nose to tail, certainly holding each other up. 92 continues on its way. That's Kevin Rossell running in 3rd place overall. Reinhard Koffer in 14 behind, and Arnie Hofmeister now up to 5th. And Morgan Moulin-Trefort started 33rd. I'd just like to point out, a lot of the cars ahead of him have pitted. He hasn't. He's up to 6th place overall. Peter Turting out of number 69. That being handed over to his teammate, Daniel Rimes, driver from the Czech Republic. Side-by-side action. 112, that's not the car. That's the car that led the race in the first part of the event. Jean-Louis Jasper will be taking that over. Lefterov continues on his way. Now let's just see how far behind Jonathan Cecotto is. Not far at all. 0.6 of a second on the start-finish line. Oh, a slight delay there for Pavel Lefterov. Couldn't get around the back mark. Tell you what, that's not the back marker. That's the Academy Motorsports, the car that's pitted, and they've had a clash there. And oh dearie me. Well, Pavel Lefterov, the Aston Martin driver, was minding his own business. He's done his pit stop. William Moore's just come in. He was given a body slam by Pavel Lefterov, and that's left the door open for Jonathan Cecotto to look up the inside, but he's diving for the pit lane. I think there might be an inquisition there. That wasn't a slow car coming out and getting in the way. That's a car that's a lap down, but only because it's made its pit stop. Well, something else for the stewards to consider. Now Daniel Rimes waiting to get the number 69 Cayman going and steer it around the back of the Sin that was slightly diagonally parked in front of it. Pit window still open, but certainly Pavel Lefterov will have to have a think about life. The 62 Aston Martin that's behind it, as it was in the first half of the race, is a lap down, but the pit stop has been made. Now William Moore, I don't think, fancied having his door slammed by the race leader. He was minding his own business, trying to get up to speed at the end of his first lap out of the pits, and he was given a clatter for his efforts, but pit window is about to come towards an end, and you certainly feel that Pavel Lefterov will be in next time around, or he would have run out of time. Arnie Hofmeister hopping out of the car that was running in the tail end of the top 10 in that 6-car battle. And William Moore's now got some heat in his tyres and heat in his helmet, I think, because he's really trying to push Pavel Lefterov and see if he can unsettle him, because he's got the remainder of the race to complete himself, 26 3/4 minutes. But Lefterov, his race is almost run. He'll be coming into the pits to hand over to Jean-Louis Jasper. How good will the pit stop be, and will that car take exactly 1 lap to make its pit stop and therefore emerge back with William Moore? Wouldn't that be quite an interesting little element? We'll see if that happens. But William Moore now really pushing Pavel Lefterov. Pavel almost running off the circuit there in his quest to stay ahead. They're fighting for position on the track, but there's a lap between them, but that should be scrubbed out by the pit stop. So they could yet be fighting again, or more to the point, Jean-Louis Jasper will take over and he could be fighting with William Moore. But Moore's here to the finish. Bulk of cars have now done their pit stops, in fact, with the exception of Pavel Lefterov, still leading the race, and now finally makes a call to the pits just in the nick of time. So William Moore no longer has Pavel Lefterov to play with. He goes past the end of the pit wall, the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin. I had a feeling ahead of the pit stops that William Moore and Matt Nicol-Jones were probably the stronger pairing than Pavel Lefterov and his teammate Jean-Louis Jasper, and it could well prove. Almost trying to overtake a pit exit there. I'm not sure that's what the doctor ordered. Was that the 24 car, which well, it seemed to be holding up the car behind, or the car behind impatient to get out past it. But don't forget, Jonathan Cecotto had got number 24 up into third place. Oh, sorry, 24 is not the Jonathan Cecotto car. That's the Westman car. That's a car that's under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. It could be the car behind that will also be punished for events in the pit lane. But here is 112. Out gets Pavel Lefterov. In and getting strapped in is Jean-Louis Jasper. Where will it come back out onto the circuit? Will it be ahead of the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin? And equally, Jonathan Cecotto's car, just waiting for the driver change. It's been in the pits. I think that might have lost a little bit of ground with that, with the driver change, but that was a really strong run from Cecotto to get right on the tail of the top two and keep them very honest. But handing over to Lennart Marianek, expect that to go pretty well in the second half of the race as well. But it looks as though they've lost a little bit of position out on the circuit. And at the moment, listed in third place overall is car number 84, another of the KTM crossbows. Stephanie Cox has taken that over, so her father Peter Cox will be getting very excited up on the pit wall with her running in third position. But we're just waiting for that final jiggle of positions you get. Pit window now closed, has been for 40 odd seconds, and William Moore just looking to see what sort of lap times he's managing as he gets up to speed and exiting the pit lane. Pit lane is closed. Is that too late? It seems as though well, that's pit entry that's closed, but I think it could. Well, there we go. So very, very well positioned on the circuit, just looking for lap times, but it does seem as though an advantage has been gained in the pits by one of the top two. 62, some distance behind now. It's dark. It's a dark-coloured Aston Martin. There has been body clash with the car 112 that was leading the race, and such a fine battle went out on the circuit, but then a strange incident when that driver change was completed. Car 34 right in the mid. Lennart Marianek there. Car started by Jonathan Cecotto, now listed as running in second place, but it's that lap of curiosity as we wait for all the drivers who've made their pit stops, which is all of them, slot back into their position around the circuit. Fully dark here, 23 minutes still on the clock, the opening round for the Northern Cup of the GT4 European Series, and track conditions great. There was a lot of oil down on the circuit early part of the race. The cement dust was put down, and it seems people have been behaving very well since. So clearly the caution was a sensible thing to have, and the drivers seem to have benefited from the care the marshals put out there, because racing in the dark with oil down a stretch of circuit you cannot see would be very, very tricky indeed. And then Marianek coming around to complete another lap over the curbing and beyond. About to start another lap in the lead of the race. So that goes to prove 34 took the advantage in the pit stops. Really strong stint from Jonathan Cecotto, but the quicker change to Lennart Marianek done ahead of the 112 crew. 69 sitting in the pits, that shouldn't really be there in the normal course of action, so that's dropping that right down the order. Peter Terting sitting in the pits, and he was sharing with Daniel Rhymes. They were right at the sharp end. They were running fourth in the early stages of the race. So this is an untoward circumstance in the pits. It's a second pit stop. The doctor only orders one pit stop each. So Lennart Marianek leading the race from Jean-Louis Jasper. How far behind is Will Moore? He's 6 seconds down on Jasper. So they lost out over the sequence of driver changes, and Will Moore needing to really start to wind that up, get a bit more speed out of the car. 112 seems to have enough speed at the moment, but to take the lead of the race after the strong opening stint, RYS Team Kiska in their KTM crossbow. Last time around 1 minute 44. Just waiting to see what Jean-Louis Jasper can do in 112 in his first proper flying lap out of the pits. If he's quicker than that, we've got race on. If he's slower than that, then it's looking very good indeed for Lennart Marianek. Coming down towards the end of the lap, and the first two parts of the lap have been better for Marianek than Jasper, so it looks as though the advantage will grow for our new race leader, the number 34 crew from KTM Kiska. And how good is the lap time this time around? Oh, it's looking a fair bit better from Will Moore than it is for Jean-Louis Jasper. So suddenly we could have the 62 Aston Martin back into second position. It'll be a few laps yet, but he's really starting to eat into the Porsche Cayman's advantage. There it is, it's visual. It's about 4 seconds, I would think, twisty part of the circuit. So Will Moore, with his dander up and his brake disc absolutely glowing in the night here at Misano, giving chase out of turn 16. leading the way. It's the 34. 112 in second, 62 the Aston Martin from Academy Motorsport in third position and closing in big time. He took on that last lap 2.5 seconds out of Jean-Louis Jasper in 112. Car number 8, now with Max Cobalt on board, just looking at that, has moved up to 4th place. Not so long ago, before the pit stops, it was down in 7th or 8th. 92 in 5th place, looking at that now, and that's Alessio Picariello, who's taken over from Kevin Rossell. And what we're getting after these driver changes, Marinek leading the way from Jasper and more, Cobalt Picariello, as we said, and Stephanie Cox, who fleetingly, after a very quick pit stop, had got up to 2nd place, has slotted back down into 6th, but that's still a very good run from that young Dutch racer. And of the 33 starters, it seems we have Peter Turting has lost a bit of time in the pits, but we still have 30 runners. Very encouraging indeed. And again, looking at the lap times, it seems Jean-Louis Jasper has no answer to the race leader, Lennart Marinek, in his KTM, and no answer to Will Moore, who's cutting him down, closing in on him in the Aston Martin. So the clock is ticking down into the final 20 minutes of the race. There is the Aston Martin, Will Moore, really closing in. Last time around he was 3.6 seconds down on the Porsche that holds 2nd place, but able to take 2.5 seconds out. You don't have to do the maths too carefully to work out that advantage will come down to next to nothing next time around. 1 second stop and go penalty for car number 24 and 74 because their pit stops were too short. At a 2 second stop and go for car number 44, but don't worry, 44 is down towards the tail end. It's not affecting the lead of the race. So car 24 also down, that was Sladecker down towards the tail, so it's not going to interrupt this lead battle. The lead is stretched to 9.4 seconds for Lennart Marinek. There is the sin, rather holding up 112, and that has allowed Jean-Louis Jasper a little bit cautious, and right behind is the Aston Martin trying to jink one way, go the other, take the outside line around the turn 13 into turn 14. It's still 112 holding down that position, but you feel the Aston Martin will blast past in the next couple of corners. This is the battle for 2nd place, and all the time they battle, it allows Lennart Marinek to escape ever further clear in the lead of the race. 9.4 seconds clear last time around. Where is the Aston Martin going to make its move? Not into turn 8, that's the hairpin. Just easily spotted from the building above the pits. Will it happen up at turn 10? No, it's not, but Jean-Louis Jasper is now really holding up Will Moore. Will Moore's going to have to be quite careful as to where he chooses to make his move. Hasn't happened at 9. He's trying to make it good on the exit of turn 10. Has he got more grunt under acceleration? He's certainly making a run right under the rear wing. He's going to go up the inside. Is he going to get by before the kink at turn 11? Be brave to do so. Brave he is, and you'd have to say Jean-Louis Jasper, well, in trying to be polite and stay on the outside became the outside the white line. He went off the circuit but managed to rejoin. That would have been quite a scary moment. It would be scary in the day, but at night when you realise you've actually gone over the white line at a kink on a very quick straight, that would have focused his mind, and that would have put dirt on his tyres, and that will certainly add encouragement to Max Cobalt in the Ecris BMW. He's behind, about 5 seconds behind, in 4th place, but certainly that would have gained him a bit of time. And I'm afraid we've got a Maserati parked at the side of a circuit. Car number 69, the reason it was back in its pit stop was too short, violation, an 80-second stop and go penalty. But that's why we saw it sitting in the pit lane, but that's only just come on our screen, so it could be a 3rd pit stop for the Daniel Rhines Peter Turton car. Don't forget that was fighting at the front end. So there's a minimum pit stop time, and some of the drivers have clearly not got very good stopwatches if they still have that time and they still don't get it right. There is 69. It was fighting at the sharp end, but it's been deposed by the car now in 2nd place, the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin of Will Moore, which is nearly 13 seconds now, having been delayed getting past Jean-Louis Jasper. Nearly 13 seconds down on Lennart Marinek for the 34 crew from KTRYS Team Kiska. Jonathan Chicotto, such a strong opening stint from the Venezuelan racer, and now Lennart Marinek is really just putting in consistently strong laps, but the pace has dropped away. The cars, their tyres are increasingly tired now. The sweet tyres were given to the first drivers, 3 abreast down the backstraight in the dark, 2 Porsche Caymans, and on the outside, well, a 3rd Porsche Cayman just for a bit of variety through the kinks at the back, but so 69 is just cruising in there, I'm afraid. Probably has been given the signal to come in. Ecris BMW getting closer and closer to the 112. But Alessio Picariello is in fact just picked his way past Max Cobalt, so a change of position last time around, just out of our sight. So Porsche Cayman's still on the charge. Picariello racing for Pro Sport Performance, the crew that really know their stuff, and his next target will be the 112 of Jean-Louis Jasper. I feel that's almost a done deal. And Will Moore, having gained the position, has suddenly got a new challenger. Jasper's been demoted by Picariello. Picariello is taking the battle to the Aston Martin racer. So while our leader is 12.9 seconds clear, Lennart Marianek, suddenly Will Moore, he got up to second place. It all looked good, but that was because he was pitching his race against Jean-Louis Jasper. He was quicker than the German racer, but now it's Alessio Picariello in the 92 that's troubling the Aston Martin and piling the pressure there. Flashing his lights, tucked in behind 92, really starting to make a move. Pro Sport Performance racer, silver in colour. Hard to pick it out. Kevin Rossell started the race in that. And 112 now being challenged by everybody, it seems, and certainly dropping away. So the great early run by Pavel Lefterov hasn't been matched, as we didn't expect it to be, by Jean-Louis Jasper. And he's lapping about 1.5–2 seconds slower than the cars that are coming past him. So he's got to hang on in the final 14 minutes and try not to lose many more places, or any more places. But right now, all eyes on Alessio Picariello in the 92 Porsche Cayman, pushing incredibly hard to see if he can get second place from Will Moore in the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin. Car 44 was being pinged for something earlier in the race and is now under investigation for improving sector time under yellow flag. So I'm afraid he's probably getting quite a few points against his name. But Will Moore trying to hang on to second position in the dark here at Misano. Through over the curves, nice and gently there from the Aston Martin, but you can almost not see the car behind as Alessio Picariello sets his car's fastest lap of the race. It nearly pays off. He tries to tow up the inside into turn one, which is a bit of a mug's game. You have to be around the outside really, get your nose ahead, because one turns very quickly into turn two. Turn three, as you can see, they're already going through it now, the fast kink, and then it gets tight up at turn four. But Picariello, he'll have a look, but he can't be serious from there to try and make that move. Fourth place behind them, still with Jean-Louis Jasper, being pushed really hard now by Max Cobalt. Stephanie Cox is somewhat back in sixth place, but this battle for second place between Will Moore and the Aston Martin and Alessio Picariello looks like it's going to go all the way to the flag, unless the Italian racer gets a little hot under the collar and decides now is the moment on my home ground to make a manoeuvre. And in fact, he's trying to make a manoeuvre, but he's on the outside line as they go out of turn 8, up over the little crest of the hill, but holding the inside line. That's the line you need. That's the line held by Will Moore, but trying to tuck up the inside and then running out of space, having to come off the attack and tuck in behind to fight another day. That was yet another move from Alessio Picariello, but he still stays in third place. Are they being caught by those behind? No, they're not. They're dropping the chasing group, so they can concentrate on their battle, but they can't really concentrate on the race leader. Yes, they're actually closing in on him. They took 2 seconds out of him last time around. I think there was a bit of traffic there for Lennart Marianek, but his advantage in the lead with 12 minutes remaining is 10.5 seconds. That should be good enough to take to the finish, unless it wasn't traffic, unless those tyres have been eaten by Jonathan Cecotto in the first part of the race, leaving Lennart Marianek some inferior rubber to run to the finish. Rubber that's had its best, and it certainly was pushed very hard indeed as Jonathan Cecotto rose from 5th up to a very competitive 3rd position. Finally spotted the name on the windscreen, the number on the windscreen of the beached Maserati. It's the 77, the Orba course Maserati, Giuseppe Fasciolo and Romy Dal Antonio. When is Picariello going to get a move that works? So much pressure on Will Moore. Will Moore just holding the inside line wherever he possibly can, and that is all he needs to do. It's up to Picariello to produce a rabbit from a hat, a fantastic overtaking manoeuvre that Will Moore has not been expecting, but he's tried pretty much at all the likely corners so far and not come up trumps. But he's still got time. Whittle away, but of course if a back marker should just sort of back up against them, that could be the moment that Picariello has to wait for. You can see the KTM leading the race, now down to just 9 seconds clear, so maybe I was right that the tyres have been a bit gobbled up on that 34 RYS Team Kiska KTM Crossbow leading the race. Jonathan Chicotto started the race. Lennart Marinek got out in the lead after the pit stops and was looking good, looking very good. It went out to 13 seconds or as near as in the lead of the race, and I think on this lap alone it's going to come under 9 seconds, maybe even under 8 seconds. The clock is ticking down, ticking all away. Alessio Picariello just doesn't have the answer, just can't get past Will Moore. Max Cobalt, though, in 5th place. Now in his sights is Jean-Louis Jasper, almost on the nose of the Ecris BMW, and tight in behind Stephanie Cox. No, she's 8 and a bit seconds down. It's another driver tucked in behind. It's one of the KTMs they've just passed. As soon as things bunch up, Jean-Louis Jasper has had to be very defensive, but driving off the circuit through turn 16 isn't really known as a defensive line. That's a line that went seriously wrong. Nine seconds has become 8.4 seconds for the 34 crew. That was their advantage. It's being chipped away by this grouping. 62 Aston Martin of Will Moore. Defending. Alessio Picariello in his Porsche Cayman, just trying to find the moment to make an attack for the Pro Sport Performance team, but the silver racer stays behind the darker racer, the Aston Martin, ahead of the Porsche through the kink at turn 7. No move coming this time from Picariello as they dip down into turn 8 one more time, and again the Aston Martin goes wide and the tail nearly comes around. Can he keep the power on to still hold down the position on the inside? That's where he needs to be, but that was a big scare. This time the Porsche can't try and tuck up the inside. It looked as though that was the moment it all went wrong for Will Moore as the tail came round on the painted line on the exit of the hairpin. Somehow he not only held it on, got it straight and got the power down, but kept his nose in front. But Picariello is really piling on the pressure. That would have cost them a little bit of lap time, bought a little bit of breathing space for Lennart Marinek. 8.5 minutes remaining. He's 8.4 seconds clear, but not so long ago he was 4.5 seconds more in front of this battling duo. The Aston Martin and the Porsche Cayman pushing oh so hard. Another back marker, I think, up ahead of them. Will that have a role to play? Getting very loose out over the curbing there as he tries to get the power down through 15, through 16, past the stricken Maserati. You can't really see the Porsche Cayman. Now you can. In 3rd place, still Will Moore in 2nd. They're down to 7.9 seconds down on the race leader. So even in among this battle where we saw Will Moore running wide at turn 8, they're able to take chunks of time out of Lennart Marinek, who's leading the race. But Will Moore has had a huge amount of pressure to absorb. Alessio Picariello got onto his tail pretty quickly, gained 2 or 3 positions, got onto his tail, has made many passing manoeuvres and all but pushing him round the early part of the lap, but hasn't managed to make one stick. So fantastic racing to get the 2017 GT4 European Series underway, and again nearly striking the back of the Aston Martin as he changed his line. So Picariello really piling the pressure on, now taking a different line, trying to pretend he's going around the outside at turn 8. We know he won't be able to do that, but can he tuck up the inside on the exit? Will Moore went wide before. They're coming up on one of the Porsche 911s in the race there, about to lap it, but again Will Moore does what he has to do. He holds the inside line through 9. That allows him to tuck into position nicely at turn 10, but trying to go up the inside and in fact undercutting him, then running off the circuit and pushing the Aston Martin off the circuit. 2nd place has now gone to Picariello, but had Will Moore not turned to the outside in avoidance as someone, I think, spins on all the dirt they kicked up in the background, or have they got it straight? I think they've got it straight there, but that was quite a manoeuvre from Alessio Picariello, but they could have both gone off. I'd like to see a replay of that, but Will Moore has fallen to 3rd position. Did he push? Was he jumped? I'd say there was a bit of a push up the inside, but the manoeuvre was coming from a long way back. About 5 or 6 laps ago, Picariello got onto his tail, and now he's got past him eventually. Well, great racing it was. Will Moore might not consider it was great racing down there at turn 10, but he lost out, decided not to let the 2 of them clash, and it's order change all round. And now Max Cobalt right on the tail of Jean-Louis Jasper, has been close for lap after lap, hasn't managed to pass him, and now Cobalt is starting to get a little bit frustrated with just over 6 minutes remaining. He really wants to put that Porsche Cayman behind him, but I'd say Jean-Louis Jasper has grown in stature through the course of the race, and now he's starting to really pick up the pace, and those behind getting very frustrated indeed. Jasper took a few laps to get up to speed, but he's really sort of finding his form, possibly in the dark, being able to pick out the corners far better than he was earlier, just when he took over that car from the driver who led the first part of the race, from Pavel Lefterov. But he's certainly settled in, but under huge pressure now from Max Cobalt, the young Dutch racer. Quite a few drive-through penalties for 4 cars, 44, 74, 92 and 93 for improving in the first sector under yellow flags, but that's not affecting any of the drivers up at the sharp end of the field. 8.887 seconds is the gap between first and second. The driver in second, of course, is no longer Will Moore in the Aston Martin. He's 1.7 seconds behind the driver in second, and that driver is Alessio Picariello. Jean-Louis Jasper on our screens here, right behind is not Ricardo van der Ende. Of course, he's handed the number 8 Ecris BMW over to Max Cobalt, and Max giving chase now. Drive-through penalty for car 92. I said there were no penalties for those at the front end. That is the driver in second place, and that improving under yellow, but I think that was possibly for the incident down with, unless they've not investigated it yet, where Will Moore was pushed out of the way. Was it a place gained? Taking into account another driver having to get out of the way in avoidance, but either way, 92 Alessio Picariello, what a shame. It was such a feisty drive to get up into second place. He has a drive-through penalty, so Will Moore will soon be back in second place. And Jean-Louis Jasper, the car started and went on to lead the race for a long time in Pavel Lefterov's hands, may yet get a podium position. There it is, number 112, but certainly Max Cobalt behind is determined to get the Ecris BMW in the final, well, into the final 5 minutes of the race, almost into the final 4 minutes of the race. And in turn, he's got a car right on his tail. That's Stephanie. No, it's not. It's not Stephanie Cox. She's dropped down to 8th place. I beg your pardon. That's the car they have just passed. Final stage of the race, and you certainly feel Max Cobalt has got to make that move very soon. He's had to lost a little bit of ground there, with number 54 right on his tail, but 54 is not in the overall reckoning. It's some distance down. It's a tail ender, but seems to want to join the battle. 54 Benjamin Massatis and Brett Sandberg, and it's having some fun there with the American racer Brett Sandberg, putting some pretty good laps in. In fact, that's why he's able to stick with them, because he might be down in 23rd position. But of course, he seems to have the pace that maybe the lead driver, the first driver out in that car, didn't have, Benjamin Massatis. So the one driver that's going very nicely indeed can back off a little bit and still get to the finish in the lead with just about 3 minutes precisely remaining in this race is Lennart Marianek. He is losing time to the group behind, the group which was Alessio Picariello, but Picariello is now into the pits in 92. That means Will Moore will go back into second place in the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin, 9.5 seconds down on Lennart Marianek. So that was a 3 minute. Now, how many positions is the 92 crew going to lose? Coming through the pit lane, it's a drive-through penalty, in one end, out the other, but it's a very, very slow pit exit. You rejoin the circuit not before turn 1 or turn 2, but halfway to turn 3 on the outside, a kinked pit lane that is very slow indeed. Will that drop him down to about 6th position? Might be more. It's trying to work out how long the pit lane is. That, I'm sure the Ecris BMW will have gained as it goes through the first 3 corners. So leading the way, undoubtedly, is 34. Car 112 running in 3rd place, Jean-Louis Jasper. Drive-through penalty for track limits exceeding them. So the car from 2nd has just hit trouble. The car from 4th is now also being called into the pit lane for a drive-through penalty. In this, the very closing moments of the 1 hour race. So the order is changing yet more. So it looks so we could have Max Cobalt in the number 8 BMW being elevated. Will he get up to 4th? He might even get up to 3rd. Lennart Marianek, though, seems to be all under control in the lead of this race. 9.5 seconds clear. As from 3rd place, Jean-Louis Jasper, the car that was driven so well in the first half of the race by Pavel Lefterov, will be called in to make a drive-through penalty, even at this late stage in the race, and that will cost him what had just become 3rd place. Benefiting from the drive-through penalty of another Porsche Cayman, the 92 car that was running 2nd. And Brett Sandberg, well, he's deposed. It's not for position, it's just for pride. He's a lap down in that 54 KTM Crossbow, gaining position on the circuit. In fact, he's got into top 20 with that manoeuvre, but the car he's fighting with is the Ecris BMW that I think, when the drive-through penalty happens for 112 will be up into third place. Will Moore, but he had to fight with Alessio Picariello, lost out at turn 10, dropped from second to third, but now looks pretty safe indeed on the final lap in second place. Lennart Marinek leading the way around, 9.4 seconds. That is the 34 car, heading to victory, glowing away in the dark. The brakes, lighting up the area immediately around the car. Lights ablaze. Half a lap to go. Out of trouble, braking heavily through turns 9 and 10, accelerating down the back straight. 9.4 seconds clear. The team will have put that on the pit board, whether he can see it, but he knows he's had no pressure for quite some time. Brilliant opening stint from Jonathan Cecotto. Car number 44 now has the black flag. He's had every flag imaginable. And I'm afraid in 20th position it's slightly irrelevant anyhow, but for 44 at the moment it's Marilyn Niederhauser. So I'm afraid they won't be getting any points this evening. Well, in fact, it's in the morning, 20 past 11 at night, almost the morning. But for 34, Lennart Marinek coming through the final corner, doesn't have to use the curbs. He's got this race done and dusted, waiting for the checkered flag. Last second just pulled out to add to the drama, but he had a 9 and a bit second advantage over the Aston Martin that will be coming into view shortly. 112 still has a drive-through penalty to serve, has stayed out on the circuit to take the flag in third position, but it was the Aston Martin in second. Will Moore completing the job. Race victory to the car that started one position ahead of it on the grid. 112 Jasper listed it in at third place, but we think that driver penalty has to be served. Drive-through penalty. They might protest it afterwards for exceeding track limits, and therefore Max Cobalt should be able to move the Ecris BMW M4 up. Well, a good run for them. They started 15th, shared with Ricardo van der Ende. That should be third place effectively. And then a car we didn't talk about a great deal, such was the order with these driver changes. Finlay Hutchison, equipped for sure, McLaren, with these drive-through penalties at the end of the race, suddenly arrived up in fourth place. Yes, those positions have now been changed. Max Cobalt listed in third place. In fact, the ones you're seeing on that timing screen now have just been affected. They've all gone up one position because of the 112 entry having a drive time added to its finishing position, and that's dropped it quite some distance. In fact, down to 13th place for 112. So shame for Pavel Lefterov and Jean-Louis Jasper, but exceeding track limits is something the stewards are very, very hot on. 40 seconds were added to its time, and that's why it tumbled down after the race from third on the track to 13th overall. So for Finlay Hutchison, that was a great debut in the GT4 series with Hungarian co-driver Cyber Moore. So keep the short, be happy with that McLaren's run. But happiest of all would be the 34 RYS Team Kiska crew, because they've come away with a rare KTM Crossbow victory. Aston Martin in second place and Ecris BMW in third. Plenty of variety, plenty of racing, of that you can be sure. So a great start to the GT4 European Series Northern Cup, and into the pit lane. Job done for the 34 crew. And that is the day and night's racing done for the Saturday at Misano to kick off the racing series for the Blancpain GT series. Their first race was an absolute cracker as well, and rounding out the action at the very end of a Saturday on the Adriatic coast. 34 creeping quietly into applause. Jonathan Cecotto, who started the race, popping over to say well done to his Kiska teammate. The unusual door opening, up comes the lid on the 34, the race winner. We'll see the Aston Martin coming in shortly in second place, but 34 crew very happy, started fifth, started by Jonathan Cecotto, and then Lennart Marinek completing it, and you can see the joy on his face too. Oh yes, absolutely so. Still waiting for the Aston Martin to arrive, possibly bearing a few scars of battle, a few clashes out there. Finally, say the Reiter crew. So yes, they put a lot of weight behind the KTM Crossbow project. And who knows? There's Johnny Cecotto Senior, delighted with the teammate, and his son, of course, we already saw out of the car earlier. But that man, absolute megastar. The smaller capacity motorbikes, the 250 and 350 world champion back in the mid-70s. Ekris crew, well, they suddenly got that podium right at the end. So for Ricardo van der Ende without the helmet and Max Cobalt, they're delighted with their evening's work. And Will Moore, I think he's probably got a few stories to tell. That was quite a busy race for him, and there's Matt Nicol-Jones out of the car, and here's Will climbing out with his sort of Confederate looky-likey helmet, and we're getting ready for some interviews down with the crews. Let's go down with Jonathan Cecotto and Lennart Marianek down on the podium, just beneath the podium, with Dakota.
Congratulations to the both of you. Jonathan, you had a bit of an interesting start. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I started in 5th position, and at the beginning I lost a lot of positions because the cars were faster on the straights. But at the end I was slowly able to recover 1 position at a time, and my lap times were good. And then, yeah, we just put it all together and brought home the win.
Well, you were just slowly creeping away and creeping away. Could you see the field getting further and further away from you?
No, I didn't see it in the mirrors. Joni did an awesome job in the first stint. I think also pit stop was quite good, since I only had to overtake 1 more car to get into the lead. I'm very happy. I'm pleased to be in P1.
Well, congratulations. Go collect your trophies.
Thank you.
Well done, Dakota. Quickly in there with 2 very proud and happy young drivers. McLaren crew, they work very hard. Will Moore there, punching the air, and I think he and Matt Nicol-Jones have got plenty of stories to tell. But there they are in 2nd place, but 9 seconds clear. Jonathan Cecotto and Lennart Marianek winning, giving a KTM Crossbow victory in the opening GT4 European Series Northern Cup round here at Misano. Ricardo van der Ende and Max Cobalt, the Dutch crew in the Ekris BMW, up into 3rd place with those late race drive-through penalties. Finley Hutchinson and Saba Moore, they rose quite some distance to take 4th place in the Keep Verschoor McLaren, and the order really did get jiggled around. There's Pavel Lefterov and Jean-Louis Jasper. Should have finished, well, they did finish 3rd, but they had 40 seconds added to their finishing time because they didn't serve a drive-through penalty that was issued in the final few minutes, and that dropped them from 3rd on the track to 13th place overall. But likewise, a few of the other front runners also lost time with drive-through penalties. But it really was the night of the crew from the 34 Team Kiska crew. They came through from 5th place on the grid, didn't have the power on the straights, but were certainly very quick in the corners, and they came away with a clear victory, 9 seconds clear advantage to them. But they'll go out to play again tomorrow at 5 to 3 in the afternoon. Very different conditions. And let's have a look at the start of the race. The lights turned green, 33 cars roaring down to the first corner. McLaren just holding the advantage. Duncan Heisman just trying to hold off the lead of the race. He was soon disposed by Pavel Lefterov and then pushed into a spin at turn 10 and had to wait for the entire field to avoid him before rejoining. Then we had a safety car out, lots of oil on the circuit between turns 6 and 8. And then when the racing got underway again, it was Pavel Lefterov being pushed very hard indeed by Matt Nicol-Jones. Had a couple of place changes. It was fantastic battling, side by side, occasional bit of bodywork rubbing perhaps, hard to pick out in the night. Anything you can do, I can do better. That was the feeling of Pavel Lefterov. But there he really put Matt Nicol-Jones very wide over the curbing at the final corner. A little bit of contact down at the hairpin. And this was a moment around the outside when Jonathan Cecotto in the 34 KTM Crossbow, and then it was almost side by side in the pit lane. Quite extraordinary on the entrance. The pit stops, some teams gained and some lost, but certainly our race winning crew reckon they did it very well indeed, because when the pit stops were completed, they were at the front and the others were doing the chasing. And then we had a flurry of drive-through penalties, and one of the cars affected was the 112 crew. They didn't get theirs until right at the end. They didn't get to serve it. They finished 3rd on the track. But the fighting was absolutely fearsome. And the 92 crew, they're pushing so hard, Alessio Picariello, to try and get one over Will Moore. But he was another crew that ended up with a drive-through penalty, and that dropped them to 7th place overall. But no one had an answer to the 34 crew. They were so strong throughout the race. And there is the checkered flag pulled out at the last moment for Lennart Marianek to celebrate the first victory of the 2017 season. And now it'll be the final podium of the night, and we're pushing on a half an hour to midnight now, but these crews have been kept up past my bedtime by some fantastic racing. And look at the variety beneath the podium: an Aston Martin, a BMW and a KTM Crossbow. And then for the other crews from the other classes, we have the 75 and 76 Porsches down there as well, showing plenty of variety. But victory in the the AM class does look like it's a Porsche 1.3. So waiting for the top 3 crews to come out on the podium. All the spotlights required. Trophies getting lined up, drivers getting lined up. We've seen the top 3 finishers, but of course we also will see the top 3 finishers in the AM category as well. They'll be called out to the podium very soon indeed. There is the Master of Ceremonies. In the middle has Max Brahms, the very youthful organiser of the GT4 European Series. He'll be delighted with the racing action and the fact 33 cars on the grid for the first round of the first ever Northern Cup section of the GT4 European Series.
Al terzo posto un grande applauso per Max Kiebold e Van der Ende, un grande applauso a questo equipaggio.
So first, the third place crew coming out, Max Cobalt and Ricardo van der Ende, overshot their podium position, but they look pretty happy with that. They fought all the way to get towards the sharp end of the field. Second place, Matt Nicol-Jones and Will Moore. Will Moore, the slightly taller of the two, leading out onto the podium. They had plenty of fighting to get on with, but the winners of the opening round of the Northern Cup of the GT4 European Series, drawing first blood, Jonathan Cecotto, followed out by Lennart Marinek. They will be delighted with that performance for the Team Kiska crew. So hats off for the first national anthem of the GT4 podium. There's confirmation. Cecotto and Marinek on the top step. Nicol-Jones and Moore on the left for second place. Van der Ende and Cobalt in third place. So after the national anthems, it's time for Max Brahms and crew to come on and present the trophies. But there is Max coming on. Ricardo van der Ende and his younger Dutch teammate, Max Cobalt, they look very happy because they not only did they get a third position, they got some really great racing to get under their belt here in the dark at Misano. And likewise, Will Moore and Matt Nicol-Jones, they had plenty to do out on this 16-turn circuit. And the early stages of the race creeping up as the action seemed to be happening all around them. But Jonathan Cecotto in the black overalls and then at Marinek who brought it home. What a great performance from that crew from the Team Kiska lineup. One of 8 KTM crossbows, but very much the pick of the bunch. The trophies, of course, look cut in the shape of the Misano circuit. So that's the end of the action. Getting close to midnight, and 6 very happy drivers, the first podium finishers for the GT4 European Series. Time for their champagne. And you have to say, it's time to good night from us. It's been a great evening's racing, a great day's action at Misano, and we've got plenty more following on Sunday. We've got to do it all over again in daylight.